internet people.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to Podro Pascal, an awesome podcast about the filmography and talents of actor Pedro Pascal. I am one of your co-hosts, and my name is Catrina.
And I am the other co-host, and my name is Rachel. And this week, we are doing, I would probably say the boy that most of us were introduced to Pedro Pascal with.
Mm-hmm.
Fully. We might have seen him before, but fully introduced with this character. And so we're going to be talking about the first 2 episodes of Season 4 of Game of Thrones with my very good friend and roommate, Leah Thomas.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh my God, Leah. Hey, thanks for joining us, Leah.
Thank you for having me. Oh my gosh. All my things.
So Leah is the person who knows the most about Game of Thrones that I know. Has all the knowledge.
Haven't read a single book.
But she knows, like, we'll get into it when we talk about it, but she knows a lot. And so Leah, tell the people of the internet a little bit about yourself.
About me, I am a freelance writer, like, half the people we know. About myself, like my life, or like myself, like plugs?
Both. Just tell them your life story and also plug yourself.
Okay. Based in New York. I went to school for screenwriting, which was about the time when Game of Thrones was airing. Though that, yeah. I'm from North Carolina and also Rhode Island, so I only understand the East Coast, don't understand the West Coast. What else? What else would you like to know? I live with Rachel. I'm 6 feet away from her right now.
She's currently at our kitchen table. As you can see, my framed picture of Chris Pine is decorating the scenery behind her. That has just came from my other apartment, and I've just decided it's coming to all of my apartments now.
And I, within the last year, moved it to this shelf so that it could be my preferred Zoom background conversation starter.
Like,
that makes me so happy.
Picture Chris Pine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this. It's kind of funny because, like, okay, Rachel was like, we were watching the first 2 episodes, and then in my head, it was like, of Game of Thrones. And I was like, that's kind of silly. I guess I'll watch it. And so I did that last night. And then I reread her text this morning, and it was like, oh, wait, no. And I was like, okay, yeah, now it makes sense to me. So I've watched both the first 2 episodes of the first season and the first 2 episodes of the 4th season in the span of the last 24 hours. It's been traumatizing.
Yeah.
Well, you also watch that weird HBO recap that they have that tells you the entire run of the show up until season 4.
Yeah, it's like it's interesting jumping around through time, and so I was glad to finally get to the Oberyn episodes because I really it did not come across my mind last night. I was like, why am I watching the first 2 episodes? He's not in them, and no, it made sense.
Well, so Catrina, that ushers into how are you doing? Checking
I'm
in
doing-
on.
I'm actually doing really good. I had a super, super busy week, and I'm still settling into this place, and you guys are just going to have to deal with an echo until like later this month when I get it painted, because that's the way the news goes. So I'm, but I'm otherwise doing pretty good. Lots of cool advancements and assorted things are happening. So yeah. I'm so excited to talk about Oberyn Martell this week.
Same. There isn't for our news segment. There isn't any news.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything. I don't know. He's tweeting. Oh, I think he figured out that there was a otter named after him. So like that's good. But like,
yes. Finally, Pascal the otter got noticed.
I love that otter so much. I just like otters though. They're cute. They hold hands
Yeah.
and they don't take these.
Just adorable. I miss going and seeing otters in like the habitat nearby. Anyway,
Anyway,
there are like a lot of really cool like wildlife habitats in California, and yeah. Anyway, I miss them very much because COVID.
COVID, I couldn't see the otter.
I couldn't go see the animals.
So because there's not much news and there's not a lot, but also we like to talk about Game of Thrones, I guess we'll just jump right in to talking about the first 2 episodes of season 4 of Game of Thrones.
Gosh,
I hadn't touched Game of Thrones for like a good 2 years. It's been 2 years since the finale, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
time
And
flies.
it felt like pulling teeth out of my brain, not in a painful way, and just like I couldn't remember how anything was spelled anymore. I couldn't remember any of the names anymore. And then it all was just like, ah! But I got it. And season 4 is a lovely place to dive in because it sets up an all new mystery.
It really, really does.
It does, and I also forgot how much the first 2 episodes suck for me as a Robb Stark fan. Like I was when I get to explaining the second episode, I'll be like, yeah, same Sansa. Like that fucking sucked. I hated that. And then I was overjoyed by Oberyn, only to be heartbroken again. But anyways, so Catrina, why don't you start and tell the people your relationship with Game of Thrones?
I started watching Game of Thrones when it first came out, and I took a big break in season 2. It's funny because like my dad bought me like all the books, and just like shipped them to me as soon as the show started, so that I knew what was going on, and so naturally I like bolted through them, and so I knew kind of what was going on. But every once in a while, I needed like a mental health break from the show. Because I just, I love all sorts of film and entertainment, but I can only take so much at once. And so it took me a while to come back to the show, and I did start watching again when season 4 came around and Pedro Pascal was cast as Oberyn, because I had seen him in a few things before, and I was like kind of interested in him. But this was like definitely where I was like, oh, he's so cool. Like, I hope he's in Star Wars one day. Like, that's the threshold of like me liking an actor is like, gosh, I hope they get cast in Star Wars someday. That'll be awesome. I wonder who they could play. And so I just loved right off the bat, like he brought the charisma to the character that like I had been expecting. The people of Dorne didn't necessarily reflect in certain ways as they did in the books, but I thought that he did a really fantastic job as Oberyn, as did what's her name, Indira Varma. Yeah, I mean, their introduction
from Thrones to Star Wars.
Star Wars,
specifically Dorne to Star Wars. There's a Dorne to Star Wars pipeline for sure.
Yeah, one of my favorite tweets.
I'm on it.
My favorite tweet of yours is like, I love that Star Wars loves Dorne.
Yeah, they get it. It's the two of them and then Jessica Henley.
Yeah,
who shows up later.
And they've still gotten more.
Oh, and Keisha Castle Hughes, but that's backwards as well.
Yeah, but she, you know what? She was under a whole lot of makeup. She can come back as someone else.
She absolutely can.
That's the rule I just made up for Star Wars. So
Disney does it all the time. Look at Gemma Chan.
Exactly. Well, she was in different makeup last time. Let's just keep going.
And so Leah, would you like to tell the people on the podcast your
my history with Game of Thrones? I watched as it aired all the way through start to finish. I did pick up the first book, and for a very dumb reason, I never finished it because the chapters are by character. And the first season had already ended. If I got to a chapter narrated by a character that I did not like or I knew was dead, I'd be like, okay, and put the book down and do something else. So it is no disrespect to the writing or anything. I just got really lazy with them. But about midway through the series, I started working as a TV journalist and was doing like recaps and theory posts and all of those things. So I would be reading even more of the like Wikipedia entries and fan wikia entries than I usually would. So I have absorbed a lot of knowledge. Yeah. I don't even remember. It was 2014 was season 4, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have been
in college.
Yeah, I would have been here. I know. Oh, I'll bring this up later. I'll bring this up when we do the photos of that connection.
Yeah. I was like, where are you going? And I was like,
I won't say anything.
Oh, wait, I remembered. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Nope, that's it. Watched all the way through, and then I got really burnt out. Not so much by the final season, but by the response to the final season that I haven't been able to like think about it since. So I do more than most people, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it, and I like how the season sets up the 4th one. It wasn't until later, I think, that my issues started happening. But just in these first 2, it's like Knives Out, basically, right? It's like the perfect murder mystery setup. Everybody has a motive. Mm-hmm. Cool new people are coming in. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
So now Rachel, what about your very dramatic history with watching Game of Thrones?
Oh,
listen, it's not dramatic. It's just, and I think I have told this story, but oh well, we're talking about Game of Thrones. You guys can listen to it again. So Robb Stark was my favorite character. I knew what happened to Robb Stark. I was aware of what was going to go down. Still didn't make it any easier watching him get murdered. Was very upset about it. So I like took a little break. And then when season 4 was starting, I finished the final episode of season 3 because I couldn't like stomach watching that episode for a really long time. Started watching season 4. Watched the first episode, was like so excited and was like, oh my god, I like Oberyn. Like I feel like I'd be okay. Like I could watch the rest of this series like with Oberyn Martell. I went into school the next day and I remember as clear as day because we used to have a computer lab in the theater department. And like everyone would be watching TV. Like normally on Mondays you would see someone watching Game of Thrones, but like I walked in and I was so excited. My friend had just finished the episode. We were talking about Game of Thrones and I was like, yeah, I really like that Oberyn Martell. Like I think like I'd be okay with Robb Stark dying. I like him. I'll watch him. And this motherfucker in the back of the room just turns and goes, who? And I was like, Oberyn Martell. And he was like, I'd look up what happens to him before you fall in love with him. And I was furious because I was just like, are you fucking kidding me again?
No. Oh gosh.
And so I watched up until the fight with the mountain and then just never went back. So until when did we do it? Like a year before the final season?
It's probably like 17 or 18.
Yeah. So we gearing up for the final
maybe the final 2 seasons.
Yeah, I was like, because Leah covered it. I knew she liked it. I liked it enough that I was like, okay, what if we rewatch the whole thing? And so she would come over to my apartment. We would just watch Game of Thrones.
I was also just like giving you a lot of shit at the time for being like, you don't understand. I love Game of Thrones so much, I stopped watching.
Yeah, you did. So our one friend, it's our whole friend group. It's very funny because our one friend Hannah like watched Pedro Pascal in like a random ass Shakespeare production before he was famous at all,
in like outside of DC in Virginia.
Yeah, and was like, I choose you. And so, like, her connection was just like, I saw him in this Shakespeare and decided I was going to love him. I was like, oh, I saw him in Game of Thrones and then never went back to Game of Thrones. And so Leah gave me a bunch of shit because she was like, you can't say you like him or that show when you never fucking finished it.
Well,
so
also Richard Madden as well.
Yeah, Richard.
Yep.
Yeah, I love him. Anyway, yeah, and so then we went back through. I had a whole running bit. It was really fun where I would change the scenes with me. Like I would play songs over specific scenes.
Mhm.
And I remembered one of my favorite ones is in one of these 2 episodes, which is when Joffrey, I'm just gonna say a spoiler and then I'll go through my thing. But when Joffrey is dying, I played the song "Die Young," and it's like, "I don't want to die young," and he's like falling and dying, and I was just like,
it was a good set of episodes for like my mood overall. You know, it was like,
it is.
mhm.
I'll do my real quick rundown because it's, and then we'll get into it.
Oh yes, it's time for the rundown. We included a new card, listeners. For those of you who are not seeing this, it's Pedro putting on a set of purple glasses with a caption called "The Rundown," and this is specifically for Rachel's rundowns.
Should have put my glass on, but then I wouldn't be able to see because I have contacts in. So the first episode of season 4 of Game of Thrones starts not long after the Red Wedding, so kill me already. And they're preparing for Marjorie and Joffrey's wedding. Marjorie, my lovely twin Natalie Dormer, is like getting ready for her wedding. She's like, "Oh my god, wedding time! Like, I gotta pick shit out." And her cool as shit grandma is just like, "Nope, not that. You're not wearing that." And in the preparation, the Prince of Dorne is coming, but not Alexander Siddig, the older Prince of Dorne, which I think is hilarious that Alexander Siddig and Pedro Pascal are brothers in this universe. Game of Thrones said, "Close enough." Okay. I love Alexander Siddig. I don't care. Julian Bashir, sweet baby. But so older brother Martell can't come, and so they're like, "Oh, Prince Oberyn came though. He doesn't like parties though, or he doesn't like big entrances though. So he's been here for hours. Just like go find him." So they and Tyrion's supposed to meet him, and he's just like, "Oh, great! I already fucked this up somehow." And so then he goes, and Oberyn is just already in a brothel with his wife. They're what? What did you say, Leah?
They're not married.
I'm so sorry. With Indira Varma, who like the two of them on screen together is one of the hottest things I've ever seen.
Yes,
but they're not married, but they're in love with each other.
Paramore.
I'm so sorry. They're already in a brothel. He's like, "Which ones do you like of these girls?" And then he's like, "I want to touch that dude's dick." And the guy's like, "I'm not for sale." He's like, "You're not?" And he's like, "Okay, maybe I am." Like, it's the hottest introduction of a character I've ever seen. It's just like, yeah, everyone's in love with him as they should be. He's the Red Viper. It's dumb. Anyways, so then the truly, and Leah can attest to this, my favorite part of this episode, because I was like, same. He's like, "Oh yeah, look at me, I'm all sexy and flirty," and then he hears the like he hears the Rains of Castamere, right?
The number one song in Westeros.
He hears the Rains of Castamere, and it like instantly is like, "I gotta go fuck some people up." And it was like the funniest shit to me. Like he was just like, "Lannisters are nearby, I gotta go fuck them up," and just like goes out and just stabs a dude. And meanwhile, Indira Varma's like, "No, okay, whatever. I'll comfort you, and then we can go have sex." Because that's the show. And then so the whole episode is just like we're seeing him little strut, and he puts his hand through fire, and you're like, okay, sure. And I realized when we were watching it that the first episode of season 4 is very much just all of the bloopers where it goes from like Oberyn Martell doing something sexy to Pedro Pascal like falling were from this episode. And I was like, the most relatable thing. It was like expectation versus reality. And he's like touching fire, and then it shows him almost catching himself on fire. And I'm like, same. But yeah, this episode, if I remember correctly, is also when like Jaime Lannister is learning how to sword fight with his left hand, because at the end of season 3, he loses a hand. That's Leah's boy. And then that scene also made me want to take up sword fighting. So I'm just going to start sword fighting as soon as we get out of quarantine. And yeah, that's Am I missing anything big from that episode? That's pretty much
With
it was
him?
What?
Just like in
general.
King's Landing or wherever?
Yeah.
Because I
That's
assume we're not dealing with the Arya stuff or the Jon Snow stuff, or I don't care about them.
No. I love them, and I love Arya and her relationship with the Hound. Like, cute, adorable, great for them. This is not important for the discussion that we're having.
No.
That's pretty much that episode. And so then the second episode, which is like hot wedding time. I say hot wedding time because, again, Oberyn shows up with his shirt just completely open. Like, he doesn't, there's no, just chest the entire time. And Indira Varma has on this cool thing on her head that's like a bunch of like metal necklace looking things. And I don't know why that's not a more famous thing. But anyways, it's the purple wedding, which is Joffrey's wedding to Marjorie. Tyrell, right?
Yeah, Tyrell.
Okay.
The roses.
It's their wedding. And because Joffrey's a piece of shit, he his like entertainment at his wedding is getting a bunch of little people to act out like the war for the Iron Throne, and his uncle is sitting there and like miserable, and Robb Stark gets decapitated, and Sansa. Oh, that whole wedding! Do not even get me started. I hate that little bitch so much, and by little bitch, I'm referring to Joffrey, a piece of shit. And when he died, I cheered.
It was just
the happiest I've ever been.
It was so, like, very rarely in stories like this, and especially in Game of Thrones, are things satisfying to a viewer. Like just genuinely satisfying, not like profoundly satisfying or anything. It's just like, like not that. Which is like a sigh of relief, and that was one of them. Like, I knew it was going to set off a chain of events, of course, because it becomes a murder mystery from there. But it was just like, oh, finally, this dumb kid. I don't have to listen to him anymore.
And it was so nice to have it happen in the second episode of the season and know that you didn't have to wait for this kid to die for another full season.
Yeah, and I feel so bad going like, I wish this kid would die, this child. But yeah.
Well, the saddest part of this episode is when like Jaime Lannister is running because he knows it's his son and he's just like upset about it.
Yeah,
but
that's
like
sad.
But also, I'm like, oh, I'm so sad for you. But also, your son is a piece of shit.
Sorry.
Like, I hate him so much. And I did say out loud, which is like, because I have seen the series, like, so in retrospect, I know that it's like who did it and all that stuff. But I do think it's very funny that like the preview for the next episode is like Tyrion being like, I was framed for the murder of Joffrey. And I'm like, no, you weren't, dude. You just ended up in the crossfire. Like, sorry about that. Like, you were not framed. It was an accident that you were involved in this. Like, no. Tell Cersei I want her to know it was me. But yeah, that's the bare bones of those two episodes. Or you meet Oberyn, and he's like, hello, I'm sexy. And then the wedding.
Well, and he also like sets up the reason he may or may not be there for revenge.
Yeah. Which is why he is triggered by the Rains of Castamere and then was like, I must stab a bitch.
Yeah.
And you know he's a good person because Tyrion likes him, and Tyrion is the best judge of character on that show.
Yeah.
This is true. This is very, very true. This is like one of those episodes that, you know, it was right after the Red Wedding, and it was a hard act to follow after that. But this episode was actually had a few awards to it. Lena Headey, her performance as Cersei Lannister was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award. There are a few Creative Arts Awards for hairstylist, outstanding guest actress in a drama series to Olenna Tyrell, to Diana Rigg as Olenna Tyrell. And yeah, I'm sure I'm trying to like skim the wiki as quick as I can. But yeah, it's and Jack Gleason, of course, was given TV performer of the week from TV Line.
Listen, Jack Gleason in theory is the kind of career I want, where he was like, I'm going to play this character and cons are going to basically like just continue to let me live my life. Like, I'm just going to get my dimensions and be done with it. but also I'm like, I don't know that I would want to be like, I know he is genuinely a nice human being. I just don't know that I would want my legacy to be like, I was Joffrey. Like, I would be like, let me play like one nice guy. So then people are like, he was Joffrey, but look at this like nice rom-com that he did. Instead,
Yeah, like just book a Christmas movie.
He's the little kid from Batman Begins and Joffrey. Like, those are the two things that we know Jack Gleason from. I would just be like, I'm gonna do one rom-com. So then people are like, look, he's lovable, and then be done.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Each their own. He said, that's fine. Just give me to meet Joffrey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I respect that though. He's just like he's taking his time doing his thing. And if I had Game of Thrones residuals, so would I.
Very true. Yeah. So this like, as someone who, as I've stated, it was very hard for me to start watching this show again. I like these first 2 episodes. I like the introduction to the people from Dorne, even though everything I've heard is that I would like the books a lot more because you get way more into Dorne than the show did.
Oh yeah, way more.
And I like all the people from Dorne.
And they're nicer.
I can't just in general, they're nicer people.
Ilaria's not a monster.
Mm-hmm.
What's my favorite thing about him as a character? Like, Oberyn Martell comes in, he's like, hi, I am just like sex, and then like gets triggered and is like, I am very upset because my sister died and it was the Lannisters' fault, and I will find whoever fucking did it, who is the Mountain, and I will murder him, and if not, he can murder me. And like, that's like his whole arc. And I was just like, great, I love him, someone just save him. I know what happens. I don't
save him from himself
right now. I know what happens to him. I don't want to talk about that whole situation. When we get there, that'll be a time and a half. I'll probably have a eulogy, but like
our extended episode.
But yeah, like I think it's a very interesting way of exploring a revenge plot line to me. Because I think a lot of the times, like, revenge stories are just using like Drax from Marvel as an example, is like his whole thing is like he cannot see reason. He's like, no, I need revenge for my wife and children's death from Thanos. Versus like Oberyn, who's like, I'm gonna be strategic as fuck, get what I want, and avenge my sister because she was completely wronged by the Lannisters. And I think it's very fun.
Yeah.
Right. Well, did you have something to say, Leah?
Oh. What am I, your dog? Jesus. I don't know if I would call it strategic. I think he's like, if the opportunity arises, but in these first couple, knowing what actually happened in these first couple episodes, he's really more just like sussing out the scenario, I think, and like figuring out who's in King's Landing and who he can trust and stuff. Because he did not kill Joffrey. Spoiler alert, it was not him.
Yep.
Guys, spoiler alert. He innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I keep thinking about the scene where he stabs the guy in the wrist and is like, if you take this out, like, you're going to have to call someone soon or you're going to die.
Sure,
and then just goes, I don't care.
That's also pretty impulsive.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. I think what was interesting about his character is that so many of the characters leading up to season 4 they were basically like forced into the Game of Thrones, whereas Oberyn is in it. Like, as soon as he's coming to King's Landing, he's got his objectives. He knows, like, he's figuring out, like you said, like sussing out who's who in King's Landing. And yeah, he's like ready. He's playing the game. He's not necessarily aiming to be on the throne, but he has like specific accomplishments that he wants to achieve. And I respect that about him.
Yeah, like, well, and I think part of his charm also comes from the fact that it's like, it's not about the throne for him. Versus like everyone else is like, no, I'm going for the throne. His is like, nah.
It's his family.
That'd be nice,
yeah.
But like, that's not why I'm here.
Yeah.
And that
makes me even sadder that like in the long run we don't get that time with Dorne, you know, because in a way, especially with how everything ends up, with like the sisters and everything. It's just like, it feels like, I don't know. I think that's what disappointed me so much about the later seasons, is that like you never really find out what they're fighting for, just that they're very dedicated to each other, and that they live differently than like the other realms.
And it becomes like a revengey place, which it's not in the book. And I know this because I spent a lot of time reading about Marcella, and
I forgot you loved it.
In the books, the people of Dorne rally to like install Marcella on the throne, which is very cool. And in the show, they kill her for revenge. And in these 2 episodes, I think, is where Oberyn says to Cersei, like, you know what, we don't kill little girls in Dorne. And then they do. That sucks.
Yeah. So that
show.
Yeah, that brings me back. Again, that's so funny because I watched like the first episodes of Game of Thrones, and just like the foreshadowing in some things, like it just slaps you in the face. Like I remember Caitlin Starks, she spends like 2 minutes telling Bran not to climb something. She's just like, don't climb, you're gonna get hurt someday.
Yeah, but then if she didn't tell him that, would he have the greatest story of them all?
No, he wouldn't have the greatest story.
Oh my god. Sir Bran the Great, he saw 2 people having sex and was pushed out of a window.
He saw 2 siblings.
None of us have ever experienced anything that mysterious.
Siblings? No. Actually, I can say that I have never watched 2 siblings fucking and
That's
then got
true.
thrown out of the window.
No, I have not. I prefer never to do so.
I'm good. I don't need
This is not to disparage Bran, who did great things.
I thought you were about to say not to discourage incest. You were like,
no. I greatly discourage that. But this is not to discourage Bran and his story and everything he went through. Whatever. But
sometimes when you've got to get people on board with your pitch or your angle, you've just got to oversell it. And maybe I'll just start believing that that's what Tyrion was doing. He's like, I just have to commit so hard. And it's not going to work if I'm just like, Bran has a good story. He's like a normal person-ish. He's like wise. He should be king. Bran has the best story of anybody.
And then like the best part is Sansa is standing there. Sansa's like, okay.
No, she didn't need to ever go back to King's Landing.
No, the best way to but it was just funny that it's like you have the best story in
season 4. She needed to be out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got her out.
I think the best way to introduce him would have been Bran the Wise, the chillest of them all, because he is. I mean, comparatively, he like never lost his cool. Yeah, of course, he had like half zombie brain and stuff, but like
he had the 3rd eye, right? The 3rd
eye.
It was like it's someone with 3 eyes.
Yeah, and so I just. Like there were so many good stories in Game of Thrones individually as people it's been wild going back and like watching it all.
That was always my problem, and I think it leads into what Leah was saying about how she was reading the book, is like there are characters that I care about on Game of Thrones, and I like fully care about them and I want to know what they're doing. And then I do not give a flying fuck about some of these storylines. So like I'll be watching something and I'll be like, I don't give a shit. Like the fucking red lady, Missandei, I think. Is that how you say her name?
Oh yeah, Missandei. Yeah.
I hate her. Every time she opens her goddamn mouth, I'm like, I do not give a shit. Like, go somewhere. I don't care. Like, I don't care about that whole storyline. And like, it gets a little that way with the Wall. Like, I care enough about Jon Snow to give a shit slightly. Like, I'm like, all right, I understand. Like, I like him and Sam. So I'm like, all right, great. I'll like watch you two for a hot minute. And then when they're over the Wall, I like all that chicks. I like Ygritte and Tyrion. I love I love Syrian Hines so much. I don't know why. I won't ever explain it. So there are certain things I enjoy, but this show, like, sometimes stuff happens. I'm like, I truly could not care.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
the weird lady who breastfeeds her, like, 5-year-old.
Yeah, that's
like that whole
yep.
storyline. I'm like, I don't need that.
The
Or is
Aaron
that in this
storyline.
season?
I think it's this season.
That is this season because that's
Yeah,
where Sansa gets whisked off to next.
That's right, and
So she's got to deal with that whole situation, which is not pleasant, but it's better than what comes next. So,
but yeah.
There's so much about this series that makes me feel like, blah. Like,
yeah.
Certainly a product of its time 10 years ago. I mean, yeah, I definitely. I think that, like, when it comes to, like, Pedro's performance in this, like, selling it from the moment he was on screen, and I don't want to say, like, Game of Thrones is what made his career, because he had already done some really great stuff, but it was what put him in front of a world audience. And I just really respect the way that he came in and just, like, took this character and made him so alive, because, like, you guys are right, like, his objectives are very simple. Like he's not a very complicated man, but, like, Pedro made him a very interesting person to watch on screen, so that he was one of those characters who, like, you were waiting for. You were like, let's get past this, like, wall stuff, like, and Game of Thrones has that so often. It's like, yeah, it's like, go. So
I want to see what this guy's doing.
Yeah, what's he doing? Go back. Well, because I had seen him in. Cause this is gonna say a lot about me as a person. I watched most of Graceland because of Aaron Tveit. That show's not great, but Aaron Tveit is in it. And so I had seen Pedro Pascal on that, but it was not like a role where I would have, outside of that show, been like, that's the guy from Graceland. And so, like, when I watched this was when I was like, who's that? And then I realized, I'm like, oh, it's the same dude. Crazy. But, like, yeah, I also think that this show, this is getting into how Rachel thinks, but, like, one of my favorite things about The Mandalorian is, like, I am convinced that those stunt doubles learned how to walk like Pedro Pascal, because they all have the same, like, he walks like I have seen Pedro Pascal walk. And I think it's because of Game of Thrones. Like, the way that they shoot him in this show is very much like, look at how long he is. Here we go. We're going to shoot him as a long boy. And, like, it's not like that's how the show did. I'm like, whoever made that decision, like, you're on a different level, and I love it. But it was like that walk is like what has carried into The Mandalorian. And I'm like, this is great. I love that this little strut is just now part of his characters, and I'm gonna attribute that to Oberyn. I don't know. It's probably just how that man walks, but, like, whatever. I don't know his life. I don't know what he does.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
he's a theatrical man. He knows how to make a walk memorable.
Yeah, he is.
He did
great screen presence.
New York theater boy. Come back. I actually like that he gets to do TV, but also, like, what if he was on stage again more?
Yeah.
What if anybody was on stage again more? I mean, what does that even mean right now?
Yeah, exactly. What is theater now?
I don't remember.
Today.
Zeus.
Put that on the cover of New York Magazine.
Today,
what is theater now?
Leah found the TikTok of the Come From Away cast going back to work, and people just applauding. That's the theater of 2021.
Yeah.
Good.
That's nice for them. I'm happy for them.
I hope. Yeah. I wanna go to another Shakespeare in the Park,
That is the only thing I want.
Just miss it.
Leah and I did cry when they announced that it's coming back for this summer.
Well, because it's probably the only theater that you can open now safely, because it's outdoors. And it's got so many seats that you could you could do limited capacity, and it would still be a ton of people.
Yeah.
And the Delacorte rules. The Delacorte reminds me of, like, this is very much just like North Carolina knowledge, But I did outdoor theater when I was in North Carolina, and it was called Horn in the West, and it is the same kind of theater where you're like, hey, yes, I was in Horn in the West.
There's like, if you, there, I feel like there's Horn of the West, that's like the mountains outdoor theater that everybody does, and there's another one on the coast that everybody does too, and I'm blanking on the name.
Yes,
but it's like you were either in one of the two.
I forget what the one. I also forget what the one on the coast is, but I remember that one because it was different, and I feel like that one was racist. Ours wasn't racist.
Gosh.
Well, it's about Daniel. I went to school in Boone, North Carolina.
Is it just about the Lost Colony?
Yeah, it is.
Was it just the Lost Colony?
It's the Lost Colony. That's what it was. Because I remember, because they were always like, "Oh, we're better than you guys." I'm like, we get tickets to Dollywood. I would like you guys to try and get tickets to Dollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dollywood is not near where this theater is. I don't know why we got tickets to Dollywood every year, but we did.
That's nice.
Yeah. Oh, anyways, so jealous.
We started talking about outdoor theaters. I like Podro Pascal. Would appreciate. Well, he did Shakespeare in the Park, so that counts.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Those first 2 episodes are a great introduction to a character. I know his whole little deal from them. Like, granted, I have seen the whole season, so I know his whole arc and what he wants, but I feel like they are a very good introduction to a character, showing you his, like, situation, showing you he doesn't instantly trust everybody, and is just like, cool. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
That's for sure.
Oberyn Martell slogan.
It's not easy. It's similar to being like the tailies on Lost or like whatever. It's not easy to introduce a whole new family in the 3rd or 4th series of a show and have it like land with people. And he at the very least does. Unfortunately, he was not fated to be there that long.
Yeah. But it definitely makes an impact.
Yeah, and I was gonna say what sucks is like we probably could have had him for like 2 seasons if they like put the wedding towards the end of season 4, but that would mean we'd have a whole nother season of fucking Joffrey. So like to your point with it being like it was nice he died so quickly, I'm like, yeah, but then it only gave us 1 season with Oberyn.
And then I wouldn't have wanted that trial to be extended any longer either, because it's just so upsetting.
Yeah,
by the
absolutely.
End.
Oh, Game of Thrones. But yeah, I love Oberyn Martell. He's easily one of my top 4 Podro Pascal characters, I think. Yeah. Because it's just like him, Din, Frankie Morales, and Javi are like top 4 easily.
That's a really good list.
I love Frankie. Listen, I've been thinking about Triple Frontier so much, and I think it's because we just keep watching Garrett Hedlund movies. And so I'm just like,
I don't know why.
We love it. We love it.
I love that boy movie. I love it.
It is such a dude movie. We like. I must say,
Leah and then watch it. I've made everyone watch this fucking movie.
I will say that the dude movies that Podro picks out are like, they're watchable. A lot more watchable than most dude movies,
Well, because Leah, when Leah watched like 20 minutes of Bloodsucking Bastards, meaning she was doing things and I was watching Bloodsucking Bastards, but that whole movie ended up being such a bro comedy, but like one that holds up surprisingly. Like it's not like a movie you need to like never watch again. And so it's funny because it's like, all right, well, out of these 2 bro movies, they're pretty good.
Not so bad.
Not bad.
Yes. All right. I think it's that time, Rachel. You know what
Which
time
one?
it is? It's this time.
Oh my God! Stash, 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 the stash. The stash on everybody's lips is gonna be Pedro's.
I never know how this syncs up. I just kind of go for it. I'm like, oh, thank God. I hope that went through okay. Yes,
I mean, Leah, I did ask. I'll call him friend of the pod. He's the one who yelled at me to change the name of the podcast. I did ask Philip if he would help me make that an actual song instead of me having to sing my own version of
said,
Roxy
nope.
every week. No, he was like, yeah, sure. Except I accidentally called it All That Jazz instead of Roxy, and so then I got made fun of for like 20 minutes.
Then you got canceled. So
Yeah. And that's why it hasn't happened.
and that's them's the breaks. That's just how, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is time for that.
It's time for Stash of the Week. For everyone who, if you're just tuning into this, welcome to the chaos. But for our listeners and viewers, it's where we pick our favorite Pedro Pascal mustaches, and sometimes it's part of the show we just watched. Sometimes it's just a random picture that we're feeling that week. Doesn't matter. It's about the stash. So, Leah, do you want to go first?
Okay.
Oh my goodness. So Leah picked, this is what we're talking about, outdoor theater.
Yes. Oh, look at that little wink. So this is at the Delacorte at Shakespeare in the Park in 2014 when season 4 aired. Pedro played the villain in Much Ado, the self-titled villain, Much Ado About Nothing, which I saw. It was, I think, one of the first Shakespeare in the Parks that I saw. And if I remember correctly, I was at the show right after Oberyn had died on Game of Thrones. And so I remember being like, oh, you're safe. It's nice to see you. It was a lovely experience. Yes. So look at the little mustache. It's so nice and trim because he's in the military. He's got a little uniform on.
I would love for him to, like, granted, I have seen him do a Shakespeare. Leah and I saw him together do a Shakespeare. Never forget King Lear.
We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it. It is for our listeners. Here's the thing about King Lear. You have to have seen it. And if you didn't see that production, you can never know what we witnessed.
Oh, though I will actually say one thing about it. That I felt a little bit bad for him because his character in King Lear, not Much Ado, I know we're jumping around Shakespeare's a lot. His character is a bastard, so he has some line where he's like, I'm a bastard. You know how Shakespeare says, I'm a bastard. And there was a smattering of like really annoying knowing chuckles, like ha 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 ha, just like his Game of Thrones character. And I felt awful for him in that moment, but it was fine.
That was a whole experience because there was a lot, like, first of all, I'm not talking about the production itself. I'm talking about our audience.
The audience experience was a little chaotic.
So
once the phone went off and it was like La Cucaracha or like some like very. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, because we
not
went.
Great.
Here's how. Just to put into perspective, what kind of nerds Leah and I are. We went on Shakespeare's birthday to see King Lear. We were like, Billy Shakespeare's birthday. We're gonna go see King Lear. I knew about King Lear and I knew enough of it. My lord.
Sorry.
I knew enough about it, but I didn't know the full show. Like
neither did I. And I've been trying to see every Shakespeare play performed live at least once, and it was that weird like one that I hadn't seen that was very popular. People were very surprised that I'd never seen King Lear. All right. So I was very excited to check it off my little list. And we were at the back of the house with a bunch of freaks.
But we were in the back in the, like, why can't I remember the bottom of the theater? I'm going to lose my mind. What is that part of the audience called?
The house.
Oh my God. I've lost my goddamn mind. I don't know why I thought it had a different name. It doesn't. Leah's right. I haven't been in a theater.
It does in England, but not here.
Whatever. But we were like very back of it.
Very far back, maybe even the last row. There were a bunch of old ladies in front of us that were not having a great time. They left at intermission. Bye.
They also did not like our reactions to some scenes.
No.
I remember they turned around and glared at us, and I was like, did you just watch what we watched? Because I would be flipping out, and you're not, because you don't care. Old women, get out of here. They were not my friends. I was mad at them.
No.
It's never good when the rest of the audience doesn't like agree with you and they don't like vibe the same. you know?
Well, it was also like I was so delirious because I had my press screening for Avengers Endgame was that morning. I then had to go work the whole day, and then I was like going to see Shakespeare. So I was fucking out of it.
Yeah, and with a bunch of people that were incredibly stressed that you were going to spoil Avengers Endgame by accident. So we were all on edge.
I didn't.
I know you didn't.
In my stupidity, though, which now I'm like, that was dumb, Rachel. I was like, me and the stage door are like, if there's someone I really want to talk to and meet, I'll go. Otherwise, I'm like, I'm not going to stage door. And I was like, I'm so tired. I want to meet him and Ruth Wilson, but I was like, I'm so tired. I'll see them in something else, or I'll try and see the show again. And then that was 2019. So I was a dumbass. Because then COVID happened, and never will I probably ever get to go to a stage door again in my life. Because they're gonna be like, we're not meeting people.
No.
COVID.
So anyway, that's my mustache. It's from Much Ado About Nothing, 2014 of the Jealous Orpheus.
There it is again. There's a wink.
Look at him.
Look at him.
Oh wait, poor Leah. You know what that was? It was a tangent.
We made it to the tangent portion of the show.
Do you like our GIF of him crushing bananas?
Yeah, I think it's like assorted fruits. Yeah. Bananas.
He's crushing bananas. All right, Catrina, go ahead and share your stash.
So I think technically your stash and my stash are related. I wanted to share this one, which I've shared before, and I reserve the right to share it as many times as I feel like it. It's the photo of Pedro Pascal at the wall setup at San Diego Comic-Con. I want to say this is like 2016?
Why is he
maybe
there?
like 2014. No, it was the year. Yeah, because it was like the year that Oberyn was in it. So it was like 2014, 2015. And he's got this like Sailor Moon transformation wand. And it's my absolute favorite picture of him. And his stash looks great. His facial hair looks great. He's got this little Superman curl.
I was just going to say his little Alec in the front of his hair. I love it.
Yeah, super cute. And this was the same day I went to the Game of Thrones setup. So it's like we were like right near each other. It's just super weird to say. But it was
the Eric Andre bit from last episode on those bars that are behind him. Like,
exactly. So like it was like a good year for this. Like every year at Comic-Con, there basically for as long as Game of Thrones ran, there's like a walkthrough where you could see costumes, and you guys have seen it. But like just for our viewers, you could look at the costumes. They had the Iron Throne there. You could take your photo on it and do these like interactive things, like get your photos with the dragons. They edit the dragons into the photo. And it was just like a fun little walkthrough experience where you got like swag and you went about your merry way. And the actors would always go in at like a reserved time, and like they did their little walkthroughs and promotional things. And that's what he was up to at that time.
And then my pick is also from around that time. This is, I don't know why I love these photos so much, but I love the pictures of, like where they had beer.
That's the same shirt. That's
literally the same event.
Yeah. But that's one of my favorite pictures. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about beer. I just like a guy drinking a beer. I couldn't tell you. I can't explain it, and I don't want to unpack it. I think I said that the last time. Do not psychoanalyze why I like guys drinking beer. Just let it go. But yeah, I love that very much. Couldn't tell you why. But also, I put this picture in here, and we didn't use it at all, and I just feel like we should. This is how we meet this character, and I feel like it's just very important.
Yeah,
to just show you guys that this is Oberyn rolls up like this.
Yeah, he
like
just
that, and then immediately kissing boys. It's great.
In the arms of his woman and
dick right out the gate, and I'm like, okay,
we're
on a journey.
Yeah,
For our rankings, I mean it's Game of Thrones. I'm just gonna say 10 out of 10, but because it's very hard to rank 2 episodes of a television show.
Yeah. I don't have a high opinion of Game of Thrones overall, but I do have a high opinion of Oberyn Martell. So today I'll just give it a 10 out of 10. Let's stop being cranky. Stop being so cranky.
Leah, do you
Stop
have
being
a
a
ranking
cranky.
for these 2 episodes of Game of Thrones?
For these two,
Or just Game of Thrones? It's very casual. It's not
for
a
these two
serious rank.
episodes, definitely 10 out of 10, which, and that makes me a little bit anxious because I meant to mention earlier that The Lion and the Rose, the second episode, was written by George R.R. Martin. And it's so frustrating to me that he made such a good episode when you in theory, you want somebody else to adapt the best episodes. I would love television to be more collaborative, but oops, he made a great one.
Yeah.
It's for George. This is how I feel about all 3 of us doing 10 out of 10.
Ah, look at that. Yes.
Yeah. Leah and I just watched that not long ago because I finished Community finally, and Leah reminded me as we were watching that episode while it was airing on the show, and Walter Goggins said panties, that I would then have to listen to Pedro Pascal say panties.
It wasn't as bad.
It wasn't as bad. I didn't hate it as much as Walter. Like, I didn't get the chills that I had when Walter Goggins did it. I was like, no. That didn't happen as much.
Right.
But yeah, that is the first 2 episodes of Game of Thrones. Obviously, we're going to go through. Eventually, Catrina and I are going to have to watch Oberyn Martell get his eyes smashed into his skull. But
I've never physically, I've always covered my eyes. And you know what?
No.
This time I might just uncover my eyes for you viewers.
Maybe. I don't remember what I did. I think I had a pillow in my face when Leah and I watched it. I can't remember. I just
heard all the squelching and I was like, no.
And you see her go.
In true to me, like if you go and look through my Game of Thrones story where I do all the songs, the 2 characters who are not really in there are my 2 favorite characters because I was watching their shit. Like, it was like Rob is not in there and Oberyn's not in there because I was like, what are you doing? I didn't have a fun song bit. There's a lot of Jon Snow. Just like,
and he's just so mockable.
Yeah, he really is, especially in songs. Come on.
Jon Snow or Rob? I can remember. I do impressions when we would watch.
Rob is the one that Rob is the I know. That's Rob.
I don't want to marry
you would think it would be Jon Snow because it kind of sounds like his name, and because you don't remember Kit Harington's. You remember Kit Harington's northern accent more than you remember Richard Madden's northern accent, but it is in fact a Rob Stark. No,
I know. I don't want to marry the fairy girl.
I don't want to marry the fairy girl.
Oh, I love Game of Thrones shows. That is the first episode of the Game of Thrones. Is there anything we missed? Anything you guys want to bring up? Or say about anything?
I just checked yesterday, and Game of Thrones, the account, still follows me on Twitter for some reason.
Nice.
So they started like
our episode,
right? It's just like, hey, we're moots, right? Like,
there's gonna be any? Do you think there's gonna be any Dornish characters in that fucking spinoff that we get new pictures of every day?
I would die. You can't do that.
That's so great.
You can't put Matt Smith and Dorne.
What if you do though?
No. I mean,
I'll look it up. I don't know that history as well.
Well, I do know that the Targaryens were like pretty heavily involved with the Dornish for a while, right? Like some of them, some of them were supposed to get married to him. You know,
just kill me. Put Matt Smith in a fight. Like, I thought I was fine, and I was like, they were announcing all these shows, and I was like, cool. Like, if someone's in there I care about, I'll watch. I don't really care. And then they were like, Matt Smith. I'm like, fuck you guys. I thought I was gonna be out.
The one person.
Bang it, just back in.
I've watched Matt Smith as Charlie Manson. I will watch Matt Smith do literally anything. I watched that Mapplethorpe movie. It was a hot time because Mapplethorpe was a hot time. So, like, I'm going to have to watch fucking blonde-ass Matt Smith again. Shouldn't be a blonde. I'll say it, but...
You know...
We keep doing it.
You do what you got to do for your faves, man. I've seen so many terrible movies because my favorite actors were in them. Like...
What's
I just accept it now.
If ends up as Thrawn, I don't care. Listen, he was supposed to be in Star Wars, and then he was nowhere to be found, which makes me think he was supposed to be young Palpatine. And then since that didn't happen, you have his number. So call him on up. Forget Benedict Cumberbatch being Thrawn. I don't want that shit. And give it to Matt Smith. So then I could look at Matt Smith and Pedro Pascal on a scene together and die.
Oh, that'd be so much fun.
For Rachel Leishman. I don't know that anyone else would give a shit that those two specific human beings were in a scene together. No one else. What'd you say, Leah?
I was also going to bring up how this is more just like my history with him as an actor, is much like how people associate Ben Barnes with Sirius Black without him having played a role. I remember a lot of chatter on Tumblr wanting Pedro Pascal to be Doctor Strange. And
Yes,
if anyone else remembers
that.
this phenomenon, thank you. Okay, I just didn't want to feel crazy.
No, I've seen that before.
Because
Yeah.
I know it existed. I just ignored it because I hate that character. I'm so sorry to Doctor Strange fans.
Yeah, but
I don't like Stephen Strange.
But you would have liked him more.
Yeah, well, I know I do the people being like, what if he was Peter Quill instead of Chris Pratt? Then I'm like,
that's
you're
cute
talking.
too.
You're talking. Well, but you know my agenda in this world.
Yep, the Craven agenda.
Craven.
Yeah,
Craven agenda. Oh, so good. And I can't get started on Craven the Hunter again. Yeah. So that is Game of Thrones so far. Don't worry. We'll be back. And Leah will probably be back because she loves Game of Thrones. So I'll be like, Leah, you're in my living room. You want to come
just
talk
been
about
booked.
it? You've been booked. You're booked
I'm
and
not going
busy, much
anywhere.
like Pedro Pascal.
Mhm.
And Leah's probably going to end up watching me play The Last of Us unless I keep the PlayStation in my bedroom. So she can come on during The Last of Us.
Yay!
Like,
So exciting.
I love that. I love that child. One of my favorite children.
Another Game of Thrones lady.
She is, and she's in The Worst Witch. Most
Oh,
of the
I
seasons
love
of The
her
Worst
in The
Witch.
Worst Witch. So
Andrew
Very
cute.
good. One of my number one recommended cozy shows. If you just want to watch a cozy show, watch The Worst Witch.
Yeah, it wasn't written by a transphobe, I think.
Leah.
Yeah, isn't that weird how they cannot write things?
Yeah, isn't it weird how you
But
can
you get it.
have a fun witch show about witches and not have it at like an academy? I just loved it. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm just gonna replace Harry Potter with this. Like everything. When I go to Universal in the future, maybe I will be like, oh, I'm at the Worst Witch Land.
Yep. That's for like the little kids. And then when they grow up, they become the magicians.
Yeah,
Which also has some
exactly.
issues, I know. Do not come at me. But they're not those issues.
They're different issues. Listen, when we go to Worst Witch part of Universal, the only thing I'm doing is getting a butterbeer. But that shit is good, unfortunately.
It's very yummy.
But yeah,
We can make our own.
that is Game of Thrones. You guys, Leah will be back. She lives next door to me. Literally, there's a bathroom separating our bedrooms.
Like door.
Yeah, there's a door separating us right now. Oh, you guys might get to meet my cat if he is
he's
a nice
running
boy.
around.
All right. Well, this podcast will never get to meet my cat. But yeah. So Leah, tell the people where to find you and to read your stuff.
Hang on, I got him.
You guys, this is Benji.
Moving my light.
One of my favorite bits on the internet is when Adam Scott would say, "Look at him! This is Benji. Look at my boy.
Look at him.
Cody's back here sleeping. You can't see him.
Hi. Oh, he's mad at me.
So his namesake also loves Game of Thrones. My favorite bit of Parks and Recreation.
There you
Look
go.
at him.
There you go.
One of my favorite bits, not my
Yeah.
favorite, but one of my favorite bits is when Ben Wyatt gets to sit on the Iron Throne and loses his goddamn mind. And then Leslie Knope fucks up a reference and he's like, listen, you have to get it right. And I love it so much. And that little boy right there, that good little boy is named after Ben Wyatt. So that he's connected to Game of Thrones in that way and Star Wars. The other day I was like, he's like old Ben Kenobi. It's fine. His name's Benji.
We love Benji. Both hosts of the show have tuxedo cats. Just fun fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony does not want to come out of his taco truck, so sorry.
Oh my gosh, taco truck.
He's got a little truck back there. Yeah,
Okay.
he just started a business.
There he goes.
Say goodbye. Oh, look at it.
Bye, Benji.
Bye, Benji.
But yeah, so now, Leah, where can the people
Okay.
find you now that my cat is gone?
You may find me at Leah Marilla on Twitter. If you are not seeing that word on this little screen, it's LEHMARILLA, 2 L's. Let me see. Find my writing at Refinery 29, Cosmopolitan, The Dip, The Mary Sue. That's it. That's about it. Polygon occasionally. Hopefully more places. I got my little fingies. Hire me. I'm not good at saying that. Apparently it works. What else? Yeah, that's it. I'm hanging out. Eventually I'll be hanging out outside.
So exciting.
When this airs, both Leah and I will be fully vaccinated.
I'm gonna get on a subway train for the first time in over a year. Oh boy, I'm going to Trader Joe's.
I do want
because I can't bike to Trader Joe's and fill a bag of groceries and bike back. I would be tired.
We do go biking a lot now.
Yeah,
that's fun.
That's how we've functioned last year.
It's not been that bad.
That's good.
It's not like I haven't left like my little block radius in over a year. But it's been infrequent.
That's good, at least. Yeah, I have been limited to this part of my neighborhood for a very long time, and you know what? Maybe a bike will help.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Catrina, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me contemplating whether or not I should buy a bike at anywhere you can find Catrina, all over the internet. That's OHCATRINA. That's me.
Go ahead. What?
You can also watch me as Lobo on Whiskey and Waffles from the Cantina, a Star Wars D6 show, and catch my other podcast, Ito Banta También, whenever we feel like podcasting again. We just did a new episode that is up on my Twitch channel. And yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. We're done.
You can find me at Rachel Leishman on Twitter, and on Instagram it's Rachel_Leishman, and Leishman is spelled Leishman. It's not like a literal leash. You can find my writing on the Mary Sue. You can listen to me here on Podro Pascal. And join me in my 2 campaigns to get Podro Pascal in What We Do in the Shadows, and to get him cast as Crave the Hunter. I'm apparently trying to be his agent. That's my new thing, I guess. But yeah, like, rate, review, subscribe. You know what the people do. I don't know the lingo. Tell us. We have some really cool guests coming up. But tell us what you want us to talk about, what you want us to watch.
You know what I'd love to do, and I'm just going to pitch it right here on the show. We should have a death countdown of Pedro's best deaths. Because I feel like there are over 10. I feel like there are somewhere. We can really dig.
We already covered 2 of them.
Yeah, 2. And I can name like 2 more right off the top of my head. So that's 4. So yeah, pitch us stuff like that. Why not? What do you want to see? We can do all sorts of things.
Because like I'm like 2 days away from just being like, what if we drop Triple Frontier again? So I'm like, you guys need to tell us. Or I'm just gonna be like, hi guys, we're talking about Triple Frontier again.
Here we go.
But yeah, don't worry, Kingsman's coming and I'm gonna cry about it. But like other movies. But yeah, like, rate, review, subscribe, all that jazz. And let us know what you want to see. Tell your friends about us. Get us out there, friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, and until the next time.
We'll see you later, folks.
Bye.
Ciao. Ba 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 ba.